What's up, guys? So, we have a little bit of a concerning story, and concerning, I mean really concerning story. Now, this is outside of um, the other bills that are starting to be passed and crap. This is police allowed to seize guns in home without a warrant. Now, don't freak out just yet. This has to do with a appeal on a case that, depending which way it's ruled on, could result in precedent that would not be good. But we're going to go over it because, it's something that we're going to have to look at. So, in an appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court, a civil liberties legal group contends lower court rulings in Rhode Island have set a dangerous precedent that allows police officers, in some instances, to enter the homes of citizens without a warrant and confiscate legal firearms. It shouldn't be a surprise that this takes place in the Rhode Island, New York, Manhattan area, but still. The Rutherford Institute, in a friend of the court brief in the case of I'm gonna try Canig, Can, Caniglia Caniglia v. Strom, asserts the lower courts wrongly invoked the community caretaking exemption in the Fourth Amendment. This case represents a blatant attempt by law enforcement to create gaping holes in the Fourth Amendment force field that is supposed to protect homeowners and their homes against warrantless invasions by the government, said a constitutional attorney for the Rutherford Institute. So, what we do not need is yet another slippery slope argument that allows government officials to masquerade as community caretakers under the pretext of public health and safety in order to violate the Fourth Amendment at will. Uh, so the case essentially is, in 2015, uh, Kim Caniglia of Cranston, Rhode Island, called police for a welfare check on her husband Edward, 68, after they had argued the night before and she hadn't heard from him the next morning. She said that during the argument, Edward retrieved his unloaded handgun, slammed it on a table dramatically, and told Kim, "Why don't you just shoot me and get me out of my misery?" Now, obviously, it's not the best way to go about arguing with your significant other, and it is very irresponsible to be, flinging a gun around. And I agree, it was dangerous. However, I don't, based on what comes next, you'll see why I don't think that it was legal or that this exception should apply. Police contacted Edward, and his mostly comment told them he wouldn't commit suicide. He explained he made the comment out of frustration during the heat of an argument. Then, despite his response, police took him into custody and confined him in a psychiatric hospital. Now, I don't know about you, but I do understand the wife's concern, but at the same time, I don't think that rises to the level of needing to be put into a psychiatric hospital. Like, what he did was very irresponsible, but I don't think that it rises to the to that level. While Edward was at the hospital, so this is after the fact. This was a day after the fact, right? It's not like they went to the home, did a welfare check. He was there, the gun was there, and it was part of what was going on. The welfare check was the next day, and they talked to him, and then they took him, right? While Edward was at the hospital, police entered his home and seized his handguns, despite having promised not to do so. Notice how I said handgun, how it says handguns. Not just handgun, not just the one that was involved in this, all of them. They took them all. Edward later sued the police for their warrantless entry and confiscation of his lawfully owned firearms, which he contends violated the Fourth Amendment's prohibition of unreasonable searches and seizures. However, lower courts ruled in favor of the police, and let's face it, they're not gun friendly there, so I expected that, who claimed their seizure of the weapons was within the Fourth Amendment's community caretaking exception, which typically has been limited to searching vehicles during traffic stops. Right? If the precedent stands, the Institute argued in its brief to the Supreme Court, police would be allowed to, quote, enter a home without a warrant and seize lawfully possessed firearms. They explain the warrantless searches and seizures to which American colonists had been subjected under English rule were among the driving forces behind enactment of the Bill of Rights in general and the Fourth Amendment in particular, both as drafted and applied by the court. The Fourth Amendment clearly creates a reasonable expectation of privacy in the home, sacrosanct. The sacrosanct nature of the home is such that the circumstances under which warrantless home searches are permitted are few and far between. That explains why one of the few exceptions to the warrant requirement that the court has previously recognized, the so-called community caretake exception, is expressly limited in scope to vehicles where the reasonable expectation of privacy is much narrower. However, if permitted to stand, this application of the exception will swallow the rule. The brief asks the Supreme Court not to create a new exception that would permit warrantless entry at issue here. Further, if homes are no longer protected, then every building or structure is threatened, no matter its location or status, as are its contents. Of course, the wife was concerned that he might kill himself, obviously, and I understand that because of the argument and the way in which he portrayed himself. However, I don't think that warrants, especially because it wasn't in the moment, it was after the fact, and the purpose that they were sent there for was a welfare check, and they didn't have a warrant, and it wasn't directly connected to what happened the previous. What it sort of was connected to what happened the previous night, but it wasn't like they were called for a domestic disturbance. They were called for a welfare check, and they confiscated his guns. So I just don't think, uh, according to the rationale of police in the case, the Institute argued officers could have used the statement to justify seizing all the rope or other cordage in the house and garage as well. So, I mean, if this stands, at the very least, in maybe Rhode Island, that's in New Jersey, right? Yeah, I believe it's in New Jersey. At the very least, this would have insane precedent repercussions for at least that district, uh that circuit, of courts. I don't know how it would, work for the whole country, but at least in that area, this would be disastrous for the Fourth Amendment. And that's why this is something that needs to be brought to the attention. And I really hope that the Supreme Court rules in favor of freedom. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because people keep saying they're not going to try and take your guns. Well, in this case, they did. Now, don't get me wrong, he was very irresponsible, and I wouldn't have been surprised if they would have taken the one gun that was involved with the argument and whatever, if it had been at the time that the argument occurred. But because it was later, because it was a warrantless search, I can't abide by that. And that combined with the fact that he lives in a obviously not gun friendly state, it looks clearly like just a gun seizure, a gun confiscation. So when Democrats say that they're not coming to take your guns, this is the type of thing that will lead to them taking your guns. It won't be they're going door to door knocking to take your guns. They're just going to find something else that happens, whether it be an argument, whether it be you did something stupid, whether it be a traffic stop that results in them taking guns that are in your car, it doesn't matter what it will be. They're going to go and find a reason to go into your house or your car or whatever, and then whatever they find, they're just going to take, and you're going to be powerless to stop it. This is just one of those other outlying precursor things that happens before those steps start becoming a widespread thing. Hopefully the Supreme Court takes it up. We don't know. I have no idea where it's going to go, but here's to hoping that it doesn't go in the favor of quashing freedom and stepping on people's rights. Anyway, guys, so I just wanted to cover this story because I thought that it was important. If you guys like the content that I'm bringing, I know that I don't normally post on this channel that much, but I am going to start posting more stuff about firearms, more stuff about firearms law, more shooting videos, stuff like that. Um, and that's going to be a lot of the stuff that I do. If you guys want to support me, go ahead and like and subscribe to this video. If you would like to donate to me, because I am not currently able to monetize these videos, I would very much appreciate it if you guys would donate to my Cash App. It is at Biopilot17. Or follow me on some of my other stuff like TikTok, Instagram, or follow my other channels, Biopilot17 and Biopilot17 Gaming. Anyway, guys, I appreciate it, and I will see you guys next time.